Hey guys, I'm back for another video, and today I'm going to be talking about the world building of Hytale. What do I mean by world building? Well, not in the literal sense of, blocks and terrain and stuff like that, but I had an idea recently for something that would add a lot more depth to the Hytale world. Again, not literally, in the sense of having a more alive universe. If you guys remember, I actually made a suggestions video for Hytale a few weeks ago where I mentioned that the world should be alive, and one of the things I had as an example was having trade routes led by NPCs, and those trade routes can get plundered, and if you prevent that, you can get some positive karma for a faction, and if you don't prevent it, then maybe a shop won't have anything in stock because, the shipment was broken or, stolen from. So, to expand on that idea today, I would like to propose pirates. So, not only would there be theft by land, but by sea. And I actually took some time to think further on this, and I think pirates would be a really cool addition to Hytale because there's so much you could add to the lore. There's so much you can add for character development, so let's get into it. So for one thing, I think it'd be cool if you could sail in the Hytale world, have a big boat, like not like a Minecraft boat where it's like personal or whatever. I mean like a boat that's like big enough to have maybe 10 or 20 people, maybe even 30 or 40 people, who knows, like a massive ship. And in order to do this, I would imagine that either you're going to have some very large entities, or the ability for Hytale to process and use multi-block structures. I've talked about these many times before, but the basic idea is that a player, or just the game, would build a structure out of blocks, and then all of the blocks would get connected together to make a massive entity that could be moved as one. And you could do physics on that thing. For example, a multi-block structure that is a boat would float in water, and the water would actually be held back even if part of the ship is underneath the surface. Things like that would obviously be a prerequisite to having something like, oceans and sailing in Hytale. So on the technical side, that's something that would need to be added, and I think that'd be really cool just in general, multi-block structures. I've talked about it multiple times. It's just something that would add a lot to the game. And if you missed that, I'll actually leave a card in the top right talking about multi-block structures in Hytale. So of course, these ships would have a trade route. I propose that there would be good guy boats, or maybe neutral boats. They would be for specific settlements. Maybe they would have trade deals between multiple settlements, and these guys would, supply resources for other towns. And they maybe could transport citizens, or really, really rare resources. And then these people would be threatened by bad guys, or pirates. People that would plunder their resources and take all their stuff. And I think during the roundtable I had with the game gurus, I had this cool idea that if a trade route was plundered, and maybe, let's say it was spices was the resource being traded, and you could only get it in this one place, and the trade route that supplied it got plundered, the value of spices in the town that was supposed to receive it would skyrocket because the demand would be so high, and the supply would be near nothing. So the economy of the game would change quite a bit depending on these trade routes. So I think it'd be pretty cool if there was a dynamic like that where, say, there was, a quarry, and there was like the only place to get a super rare form of marble that people really like to use in expensive housing. And then the boat that's transferring over some of these really expensive slabs of marble would get plundered, and the pirates would take it. And then the town that was supposed to receive it would still have a bunch of people that want the marble, but there's not a new supply. So whatever's left at the town would be worth a ton. So the pirate boats would be full of nasty enemies. Of course, you'd have people with like tattered clothes, and they'd be pretty malnourished, but they'd be really vicious and have like curved swords maybe. And some cool weapons they could wield would be things like cannons, harpoons, maybe even a flintlock pistol would be kind of neat, but we're starting to get a little too far from what Hytale is all about, so maybe not. Bombs, dynamite that they could throw over to the next ship. And of course, they'd be able to do something like boarding an enemy ship. So let's say a pirate comes across like an innocent trade ship and they want to take their stuff. They can like swing ropes over and then board the ship and kill everybody on the ship and take all their stuff. Something like that would be really interesting, to just be like, you know, minding your own business, walking by, and then you just see two ships that are like attached to each other and a bunch of people fighting, and you're like, what's going on? As for mini bosses, it'd be cool if you could fight the captain of a ship, and then maybe his parrot would help him out, maybe be like a way for, I know in previous games, I saw a thing where the parrot would like bring resources to the captain, like ammo for a gun or something like that. Some other mobs that you could possibly see would be something like monkeys, or you could have skeleton pirates. If we're gonna go Pirates of the Caribbean, then we could have cursed ships, like ghost ships, that have undead passengers. And I think that'd be really cool too, if there was like the whole pirate lore centered around, like, you know, Davy Jones' locker and being cursed. Some other equipment that would be neat in this kind of update would be a spyglass, which is the thing that they use to like look forward. It's like a telescope, you know, the guy that's like dinghy off the port bow and is like up top on the crow's nest. That's what the little reticle thing is called, is a spyglass. Then you could have a compass, a sundial, rope, nets to catch fish, and maybe even crates to catch crab and lobster, storage crates, barrels, and then of course you'd have treasure maps. And here's where things get really Hytale themed, right? There could be a dungeon that's all about the pirates. Maybe they have an island where they pool their resources and you float your boat over to this island, and there's just a massive dungeon where you have to fight waves of pirates that are defending their gold. And once you get to the end and kill the final boss, then you get a whole bunch of gold. It'd also be cool if there was like a mini faction that was like the Coastal Guard. So maybe each town would have a presence in the ocean. They'd have some ships that would maybe defend the trade ships. Maybe it'd be something like I don't know, a destroyer, but not like in the modern sense with literal guns and stuff, but maybe they would have like cannons, maybe they would have Molotov cocktails or something like that to burn down boats. I don't know if people did that, but it makes a lot of sense to me with a wooden boat. But yeah, they'd just be defending their trade ships, things like that. Back in the day, when I played Minecraft, one of my favorite mod packs was Hexit, and they did boats pretty well. Of course, since it was Minecraft, they were limited a lot by the fact that, you know, it was Minecraft, so there was no such thing as a multi-block structure that could be turned into an entity. So all the boats were stationary, they just generated in the landscape like any other dungeon, and they had pirate mobs, and you'd kill them and take their stuff, and there'd be chests you could loot, and overall it was pretty fun. But you know, I think this idea in Hytale specifically, considering it's got an upgraded engine that is capable of so much more, it would be super exciting for there to be like a literal floating like dungeon. Or like maybe there'd be a massive ship that's like cruise ship sized, and that's where like and there's literally hundreds of pirates on it, and the whole thing moves. How crazy would that be? A moving dungeon. I don't know how the heck the engine would be able to handle all of that movement, but it would still be really cool. I could see a lot of side quests surrounding this, so maybe like you could be talking to a vendor at a shop, and then there'd be a dialogue option where they're just like, hey, hey, a shipment was recently plundered and we couldn't get our stuff. And then it's like, could you go and find the stolen goods? And then you find the lair of the pirates, and then you take all the stuff back. Or maybe there's a person that was kidnapped for ransom, and then it's like, oh, please save my son or daughter. They were captured by the pirates and we need to get them back because we don't have the money to pay. Well, anyway, those are my ideas for pirates in Hytale. What do you think? I think it would add a lot of depth to, of course, the oceans. I know I actually made a video about the oceans of Hytale. If you want to click the card in the top right hand corner, you will see that. But that was below the surface. I think it'd be cool if there was stuff above the surface. And maybe even ways to interact. It would be kind of funny if you were on a boat and then all of a sudden the Kraken just came up and swallowed your ship or something. Well, anyway, if you'd like to talk about Hytale some more, then you should follow me on Twitter, @ThirtyVirus. I talk about Hytale stuff quite often, as well as promote my Blockshot project, which is an upcoming Hytale server network. It's really crazy. I just hit 1,000 followers. Thank you all, by the way, for those of you that are following me already. Well, anyway, that is it. So, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later.